Welcome back and thank you so much for joining us. Now, the South African Consumer Credit Index, or CCI, declined to 51.2 in the third quarter of 2015 from a revised 53.6 in the second quarter. Now, this is according to the TransUnion Credit Consumer Index that comes out today. The index that measures consumer credit health. I know what you're thinking. We've just gone through month end, so you don't know those debit orders. Okay, so it says that the decline is the largest single quarter drop since the first quarter 2012 and is a fairly sharp reversal of the upward trend since the first quarter of 2013. Geoff Miller is the Chief Executive Officer of TransUnion. He joins us now to thrash this out for us a little bit further. Geoff, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning.
Okay, is this good news?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
I think, you know, anyone that's been watching the economic indicators have seen consumers are struggling to make ends meet. So what we're seeing is less consumers able to pay their debt. The Reserve Bank raised the repo rate in Q3, which makes debt more expensive. And while inflation is moderated, wage growth and job growth is just not there. So what we're finding is consumers are really struggling on a day-to-day basis.
So it's not that less consumers are getting into debt, it's that consumers are not able to pay off their debt. Consumers
are not able to pay off their debt. And in fact, we've seen actually new credit moderate a little bit. Lenders are being very prudent around who they lend money to, so it's more difficult to get a loan today. There's laws and legislation that require documentation, so it's really the consumers that have debt are really struggling to repay it.
And how exactly do you measure CCI?
Yeah, so we look at, so we correlate, or we get information from banks, retailers, telecommunications companies around debt repayment on an individual basis. So we look at that and say, are consumers able to pay their debt or not? We look at how much debt they're taking on, and then we mix that and merge that with economic indicators such as inflation, wage growth, the cost of credit repayment, and that basically allows us to construct the index. So while it's above 50, which means, you know, we're in an okay place, the latest downward trend means consumers are really feeling stress.
I mean, perhaps this is a question not to you, but for politicians, whether or not this is a reason why we're seeing perhaps more protests and more people calling for a reduction of a number of fees, either the fuel price or electricity prices or fee prices, because consumers are indebted.
Absolutely. They're indebted, and, you know, they're not necessarily seeing the job growth and the wage growth that's going to help them to get out of that. So, you know, I think it's a combination of things. We saw negative GDP, you know, results for Q2, and full-year growth of 1.5. So that is not, that's not putting consumers in a place where they can, if they are under debt, that they can work themselves out of it.
There's been a number of interventions, though, that have been proposed, either debt counseling, debt cancellations in parts, the repayment plans, you name it. Are these helping?
I think they're helping, but you know, the overall economic conditions are muting the impact of those. So I think all of those are good initiatives. I think there's a select amount of consumers that are taking advantage of those. But at the end of the day, if you lose your job and you can't find another one, it doesn't matter what intervention takes, you're going to really struggle to pay your bills. So I think those are all good initiatives, but I think the overall economic conditions are really going to unfortunately keep consumers in a fairly constrained space.
All right, in about 10 seconds or so, what's the way forward? What do we do?
So I think if I'm a consumer, I'd be very cautious before I take out any additional credit. Need to make sure that you can afford it, understand what the cost of that credit is, and just be cautious as we move into this festive season. I think people want to give gifts and they want to celebrate, and I think that's a great thing, but just do so in a way that you can afford.
You don't want to get a loan to buy Christmas presents, right? And to consolidate debt?
Consolidate debt, if it can save you money, it's absolutely a great thing to do. But just make sure if you do consolidate it, you don't take out more credit and put yourself back in that same position.
Thank you so much. Geoff Miller is the CEO of TransUnion. It's very important. And you know how they send you those SMSs and tell you, congratulations, you've qualified for a loan of X amount of money, and you don't realize that you need it until that SMS comes. Say no. Just say no. Walk away. All right, let's leave it there at least for now and check in with your weather. Valen is standing by. Or not your weather, your sports rather.